After reviewing hundreds of my Etsy sales, 3 vintage categories just keep showing the same pattern. I usually buy them for around $10 and they sell for about $35. And interestingly, they are not rare antiques or expensive collectibles. In this video, I'll show you the 3 categories I always source when I find them for my shop, the price limit I set for myself when I'm sourcing them, the typical price that I list them for, and my average margins for these items, and exactly how I pack and ship each type of item. Hi, I'm Carol, and I've been selling vintage on Etsy for more than 3 years now. I like to share what I'm learning about running my shop on this channel, and I'm always learning something new, just to encourage others who sell vintage or buy vintage or just like vintage. Everyone is welcome here. Now, for the sake of convenience, in this video, I'm basing the stats that I'm going to be sharing on my 2025 sales data. And as a little bonus, at the end of this video, I'm going to share 2 extra types of items that I would definitely want to source for my shop because they sell so quickly, but they are also items that are becoming harder to find, and when I do find them, they are usually priced way above my sourcing price limit. So let's start with the first category, butter dishes. This is probably the most dependable item that I pick up when I'm sourcing. They're functional, giftable, easy to describe in listings, easy to photograph, and easy to ship. Plus, they don't take up much storage room. This category is broad because I'm including ceramic, glass, silver plate, and crystal. I don't find as many Pyrex butter dishes anymore like I did back in 2022 and 2023 when I could source them usually for less than $10 and sell them for about $50. But for the most part, a wide variety of butter dishes are readily available when you're out thrifting or shopping in an antique store. My best-selling butter dish, believe it or not, is the Anchor Hocking Prescott butter dish. In 2024, I was thrifting them regularly for like $3 to $5 each. And at one time, I had like 8 or 10 of them in stock. So I quit buying them, but eventually they all sold. Most butter dishes that I list sell within 30 days of when I list them. Now, there are a few things you want to be aware of when you're sourcing butter dishes. Make sure the lid fits carefully and tightly, especially if it's a silver plate butter dish, because quite often you'll find lids on bottoms that are not a match set. You also want to check with your hands all around the edges on the butter dish for chipping. And I don't source butter dishes that have any kind of crazing on ceramic butter dishes because they've probably been stored on someone's stovetop. There will certainly be crazing and probably discoloration too. Now, most butter dishes I sell for an average of $37, so I try to buy them for $10 or less to achieve a 70% gross margin. And here are a few of the butter dishes I sold last year. To pack this butter dish securely for shipping, I choose an 8x8x8 square box. I'll reuse the paper that I had it wrapped in the bottom of the box. And then I carefully wrap this item tightly in bubble wrap because I don't want that glass insert to break. So I put it over the bottom and then I wrap it over the top. I'll add some packing peanuts to my packing paper in the box. I insert the butter dish, the finial side down, and then I pack that box full of packing peanuts. Next are crystal stemware sets. When I first started selling vintage, I sold all drinkware, barware glasses as singles, and I really don't remember why or when I started selling them in sets, but that's the way I sell them regularly now, except for if I happen to come across higher end Waterford, which I'll sell as a single because people are usually buying that as a replacement piece. But the Marquise and French crystal, I do sell in sets. Now, I've also factored in silver plate and brass stemware into this grouping. Now, crystal is tricky to photograph, not just the glass part, but it's tricky to photograph two champagne flutes side by side without them looking like one is crooked. I've learned, though, to position one to the side and somewhat behind the other to photograph, and that helps the proportions not to look all wonky. It's also hard to really see the pattern on cut crystal, so I try to include some up-close photos of the patterns in my listings also. Now, crystal stemware is readily available in thrift shops, especially the French crystal. In fact, I think I mentioned in an earlier episode that for some patterns that I find often, I will source singles to match up with other singles as I find them, so I can take advantage of finding them at good prices even when I can't get a set of two at the same time. Now, when sourcing crystal stemware, be sure not only to inspect visually, but run your hand around the rim and the base to feel for tiny chips that are hard to see. I don't buy any crystal that's got any kind of chip in it. I do not source any stemware that has any imperfections. And by the way, I don't source just plain old glass champagne flutes. They have to be crystal. Now, most stemware sets I sell for an average of about $36, so I try to buy them for $10 or less. Now, here's a few that I sold last year. Here are the items fresh from my inventory bins. Notice they're labeled, they're wrapped securely in packing paper, which I will reuse in the packaging. This is the box that I use for stemware. It's a 10 by 10 by 10. I tape it securely on the bottom. So then I wrap each of the glasses very carefully in white tissue paper just to make it seem kind of special when they open it up. And once they're both wrapped in tissue paper, then I use about 4 or 5 squares length of bubble wrap to wrap them each separately. Next, I crinkle up that packing paper, probably use a couple extra sheets in the bottom of the box, as well as a nice base of packing peanuts. Then I put the piece in diagonally, and then I will take packing paper and securely go all the way around it to protect the edges. Then I'll add a few more packing peanuts on top of that first glass. I will lay a piece of cardboard in there in the same direction just to assure that the second one that I lay in the other direction never has a chance to touch the other glass. Then I pack it in with packing paper and finish off the box with plenty of packing peanuts. Now, my third category is pretty broad, but it is significant, and I'm calling it small vessels, I guess, because it includes small trays, trinket dishes, coasters, small compotes, small votive holders, anything small that things can be put into. This category really picked up for me last year, I think mostly because I was sourcing more of these items and because I started listing them as functional storage, not just food containers. Now, the materials in this category mostly include silver plate and glass, and they can be sourced at very low prices and often sold at 4 to 5 times the cost of goods sold. They're easy to store, fun to photograph, and very easy to ship because they're small. Shipping is significantly less on these items than on many of the other vintage pieces in my shop, and that makes them more affordable for more people. Now, you'll notice that many of these I'm going to show you are clear glass, but notice they're not necessarily plain. They're often candle wick or some other highly valued pattern. When you source, make sure you can imagine some use beyond that of a food vessel that you can position the items for in titles and descriptions. Most of the small vessels I sell for an average of about $26, so I try to buy them for $8 or less. Now here are a few of these that sold last year for me in my shop. To pack this small glass dish, here it is. So you can see I've already reused the packing paper once. I'm going to put it in an 8 by 8 by 8, but I'm going to cut that box down to 8 by 8 by 4 because I don't need all that extra box. And this is where I get my pieces of cardboard from when I cut down boxes. Got my packing paper in there, a nice bed of packing peanuts. Then I'm going to wrap my items securely in a good bit of bubble wrap. I don't normally tape it if there's only one piece. And then I'll insert it down into that box diagonally. And finally, I will pack that box all the way full of packing peanuts. Did you notice something about all three categories? They're all functional pieces, recognizable, and they fit a broad aesthetic range. There's so many styles of butter dishes and small dishes especially. And they're sold for pretty consistent margins across the board. Now, I said I would mention a couple of item categories that I used to source often and sell consistently, but now they're hard to find, especially in thrift stores, and they're often now priced too high to be able to sell for a decent profit. Although I sold a few of them last year, and those are fairy lamps and hen on a nest covered dishes. Most fairy lamps that I sell are an average of about $35. You'll notice I have many home interiors here, not a lot of Fenton or anything really fancy. So I try to buy them for $10 or less. Most hen on a nest dishes I sell for an average of about $46, which means I need to buy them for $14 or less. And I don't know if you've seen any of these in antique stores lately, but they are untouchable. I haven't given up on them, and I would source them if I could find them at a good price, but I can't just pay all kinds of money for these and then not make much of a margin on them. So my sourcing strategy is this. I don't try to chase rare items. I chase reliable. I don't build on one-hit wonders. I build around categories that serve real homes. So if you're new, start narrow. Try to master 3 categories, learn them deeply, and then expand. As I've said in other videos, your top sellers may be totally different items from my top sellers. So look at your data, even if you've only been on Etsy for a few weeks or a few months. Double down on what's working. That's what your customers are looking for. Thanks for being here today.